Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are on the KFN territory. And I'd also like to put a shout out that this weekend happens to be my birthday. February 20th is the coldest night of the year walk. And that's the big event in the Comox Valley. So if folks can dig a little deep and make a contribution to the coldest night of the year walk, that would be great. To date, they've raised $127,000, and there's always room for more. You can get out and social distance yourself and walk. You can plan your own route, and you can check their website at the coldest night of the year and take a look to see what they have. So first thing is the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
And all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have two delegations. We have Laura Lan and Caroline Cody to talk to us about the tree removals at the Guthrie Lazo subdivision. So ladies, I'm guessing you're there. So I'll give you 10 minutes-ish, and please go ahead, and then council may have some questions for you after. So I'll let you take the floor.
Hi there. Thank you. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. And just a quick correction, it's Lauren, not Laura, but no problem. Yeah, so my name's Lauren. I live directly across from the development at Guthrie and Lazo, which I believe is now called Edgewood at Silversmith. Thanks for approving my request for delegation, and I will keep it short, 5 minutes. I do want to talk about the tree removal at that site, and also just the general approval process. But just really briefly first, I just want to talk about Comox's official community plan. So I understand the OCP to be one of the town's very important documents, and it's a statement of objectives and policies that guide our decisions on how we plan and how land is used. Basically a framework for our decision making, and also as the legal vehicle for setting out the use of other planning measures like development permits and how we protect development from hazards and provide environmental protection. So just as a little sort of reminder, as directly stated from the OCP, there is an increasing emphasis on the preservation and acquisition of open space to support ecological objectives, for example, carbon sequestration, stormwater management, and habitat protection. Loss of these areas is a major threat to ecological integrity and biodiversity, and can cost a municipality through the loss of free ecological services. For example, trees and forests can improve air quality, sequester carbon, improve water quality, and reduce energy costs. Now, I understand this area was not a designated park, but it was a perfect example of a beautiful forested area that did provide all of these above mentioned free ecological services to the town of Comox that I believe should have been protected. Again, taken directly from the OCP, indicated priorities are for the town to focus its efforts to enhance the park system through the acquisition of large natural forested parcels, environmentally sensitive areas, as well as protect strategic greenway corridors. Securing larger natural parks will also satisfy a strong desire by the citizens to retain tree cover in the town and to protect the remaining natural areas for wildlife habitat and, oops, sorry, technical difficulties, sorry. Wildlife habitat and movement corridors. Strong public desire was expressed to protect the sensitive environmental areas and secure additional treed areas for passive recreation. And one clearly stated objective in the OCP is to encourage planting and retention of native species where appropriate, including protection and enhancement of natural forest ecosystems. So as a community resident and general layperson, not a council member, employee of building and planning department, not a superintendent of parks department, admittedly, I don't have an understanding of the workings of the process, including the mechanisms such as DVPs to guide the OCP. But I do think as a layperson, I can recognize if it appears that that process is somehow flawed, and as such, bring that matter to your attention. And so I just want to share with you my rationale. So we have an OCP with objectives and guidelines regarding the protection and enhancement of natural forest ecosystems and securing additional treed areas. And within this OCP, there's a recognition that loss of these areas possess a major threat to the ecological integrity and biodiversity. And so I would think that the mechanisms currently in place, such as our DVPs, would support the OCP. And I guess I just don't think that that's happening. Instead, it appears that the process of the town approving a DVP leads to an outcome that is in direct contradiction to at least some of the objectives in the OCP. And so this appears to me to be a kind of a fundamental flaw, I guess, in the general process or the system. I don't have the knowledge to know how to alter this system, I guess, but I do recognize if the process the town has, which is approving a DVP that is not in line with the objectives of the OCP, and then furthermore, whether it's the developer or the builder takes action that is not approved, so for example, cutting down more trees, and then the town applies these regulatory measures like stop work orders or fines, financial penalties, but the outcome is still favorable to the developer or the builder, and what I would consider a loss for the town in that it goes directly against those objectives in the OCP. And so if we look at the various regulatory measures, such as fines that are really, I don't think of any consequence to the builder because they're insignificant, and increasing the replacement tree ratio, which in itself is flawed as a regulatory measure because in many areas where they need to replant these trees, it's just not environmentally feasible because there is now not enough land remaining. And so instead we have these 2-inch saplings that are used as replacements, which I don't think can really be considered an acceptable replacement of like a 70-foot Douglas fir. So these regulatory measures don't really have the desired effect. And so then overall it appears to be a flaw with the process. And so ultimately, I guess I just have two main concerns that I'm hoping to just bring to your attention. One has to do specifically with this development. And so I understand what's done can't be undone, but I do want to know what can be done to salvage the remaining trees. And I would like information on a more robust tree replacement plan. So there are still a few, very few, like 2 remaining trees along Guthrie. And I'm hoping for some reassurance that they won't succumb to the same fate. I really don't have any reason to believe anything other than the remaining trees will also be cut down. And so I'm wondering what, if anything, you can actually do rather than impose a regulatory measure after the fact. And additionally, I would like to understand how the current regulatory measures, like the 3-to-1 tree replacement ratio, can be modified so that it has a beneficial outcome for that specific development. In reference to green space, and again, this is taken directly from the OCP, we know that vegetative quality helps reduce noise, heat, and air pollution. And so by taking down that forest and removing all the trees along Guthrie, the noise and air pollution has been massively increased. And so my residence is directly across from that now sort of tree barren space. And on a personal level, it's had a very terrible impact. And so most notably about the noise pollution. And so I believe that large mature trees in high numbers need to be replanted along Guthrie in an attempt to make improvements to this noise and air pollution. And then my second main concern that I would like to address is more broad, just concerning what changes could, and I think maybe should be done just to the general approval process, including what gets approved in a DVP and then what measures are used to enforce the DVPs to ensure that they're actually adhered to. I guess fundamentally, I just don't think that the current process works. And I just want to know if council can look at it to try to establish changes that can be made so that this whole situation that's happening here with Guthrie and Lazo isn't repeated with a different parcel of land with a different or even the same developer. Yeah, and that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Now, was Caroline going to be saying anything, or were you just a spokesperson?
I was the spokesperson, yeah.
Okay. Well, you have highlighted an area that I know the CIO and I have been talking about for about the last 3 months that has caused us some angst and challenges, and your comments are very well received. I'll open the floor to council if they have any questions or comments for you. And we will take note of your questions and your concerns, and I'm sure we'll be able to address them at a later time in something a little bit more formal. But I'll open the floor. Does council have any questions for Lauren? Councillor Minions.
Thanks, Lauren, and hi, Carolyn. Nice to see you. It's something, the tree bylaws, that we have talked about in council, and something that we have wanted to look at in planning when the timing is right. And I think in this specific development, in this specific case, I think the building that we do have going on in Comox is often developers and builders that our town is relatively familiar with. And I think in this case, you know, we don't always have the staff capacity to be noticing when someone is not following the guidelines. And I think in this case, this was a builder that hasn't developed too much here before. So I can see it being a concern if this was happening for sure on every development. And I think there's some good learning lessons and looking at that 3-to-1 and what the actual beneficial impact is. So I just wanted to say thanks for being citizens that watched that and was concerned. And I think it's somewhat of an anomaly in this case that that the $7,300 fine was applied, but it is something that council can be aware of, and it's one of those balances of the time that planning has to follow. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, well said. Any Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, I just want to thank Lauren as well for her presentation. Thank you. And just echoing what Councillor Minion said, I think there's an opportunity for us to look not only holistically at our tree bylaws, but it is difficult from a development side, maintaining all the trees in a subdivision if you're going to get, I'll use affordable housing as a comment, but if you're trying to get as much housing as possible, Comox has a strong canopy, but we have to be wary. And I think you've emphasized the flaw is that after the development permit is established, there should never be a tree come down like that. That is just a blatant disrespect for the development permit, for the town, and for the trees. And so, I agree with you. I think replanting really needs to be looked at overall, because what developers are being asked to replant doesn't replace the natural ecosystem that has been taken down. And so I agree with you there. So, thanks for the presentation. I know I was personally really upset at this developer that did that. And I don't think our fines, quite honestly, are heavy enough, because even just a tree coming down is probably worth $2 or $3 grand. So they recoup that in the sale of the tree. But I think, just echoing on what Councillor Minion said, I think we need to look overall at our bylaws again, and especially at the after effects of disobeying a bylaw.
I agree.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Councillor McGowan, go ahead.
Hi. I echoing the same. Thank you so much for coming in and showing your concern, and for all the work going through the OCP and the developmental permit process. And that's a lot of research and effort and everything. And it's just goes to show how important it is to everybody. I think you are correct. I've been having some conversations with CAO Wells as well, about about our tree bylaws and the whole system. And I think there's got to be a better way to ensure accountability and ensure that we're retaining as many trees that are sucking up as much carbon as they possibly can in the meantime. And if we do have to replace them with a native species that will grow, that will also capture as much carbon, and just reframe it that way, rather than just like here's a couple $100 fine and stuff. So yeah, I look forward to tackling that and checking it out further.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments before we move on? Seeing none. Ladies, thank you very much for taking the time and doing that research. It was much appreciated, and we'll be chatting in the future.
Great, thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Next, we have Marita Prado and Kimberly Tunders from Lush Valley. I got Marita first. So Marita, do you want to speak?
Sure, I can start. I did send some slides along, so I'm not sure how you're wanting to do the slides tonight. If there's somebody that's going to be rolling through
Yep,
those.
we're all looking at each other here. So just 1 second, Marita. I think we have it here. We're just going to pull it up.
I can also share my screen, but I know that it might not work as well. I might lose you guys, so.
Yeah. Okay, just give us one moment here. If you can share your screen, that would be great.
Sure, let me just give that a try. Oh,
No, we might have to give
Unfortunately-
you some permission or something to do this, don't we?
you do. So
Yeah.
I'm the host or the
Are
share.
we able to give her permission? There's always something new that comes up with our Zoom experience, so. But we're getting good at it.
Okay, should we try again?
I actually,
Okay, so you go ahead now and try that, Marita.
okay, there we go.
Hopefully you don't turn into a cat.
Yeah, hopefully not. That hasn't happened yet, so I'm feeling good.
I don't know,
Can people-
I'd be
can
okay with that.
people see
Yep,
the
we can see it
slideshow?
here.
Okay, okay, so I'm gonna try to do an actual slideshow, and hopefully that works.
Okay, we'll let you know on this end.
Are we good? Can people see that?
Yeah, looks good. Who are we?
Perfect.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. So just wanted to thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me and Kim here this evening. As mentioned, my name is Marita Prado. I've met and have worked with actually many of you here from Lush Valley, and I'll just let Kim introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Kimberly Tunders, and I'm a public health dietitian with North Island Public Health. So I work closely with the food security organizations like Lush Valley to promote community health and wellness. Thanks for having us.
Great. And I live in the neighborhood too, and I thank Lauren as well for her presentation. But back to our presentation. So Lush Valley, who are we? Our vision is a region where healthy local food is at the heart of community well-being. And that's really important to us. That's really the message that we try to, or the vision that we're constantly trying to work towards. And we do this in, I'd say, two main ways. The first is that we try to get as many people as possible engaged in our local food systems. So whether that's growing food, preparing food, cooking food together, which we're doing less of right now, but also making sure people have access to and consistent access to healthy and, where possible, local food, which is the sort of definition of food security. So today I'm specifically coming to you with a request. I am requesting up to $25,000 worth of funding from your Safe COVID Restart funds or other funds to help us purchase local food for the Good Food Box program. And I'll just give you a few stats. In these pictures, you can see some of the Good Food Boxes being packed, and also some people harvesting some fruit, which also the gleaning work that we do helps to bring extra value into these boxes. So in 2020, as part of our COVID response, we had started a program in 2019, but we expanded our Good Food Box program. And it was very successful. In total, we did 11,447 Good Food Boxes, which is essentially a week's worth of healthy groceries for someone in need. That includes fresh fruits and vegetables, eggs, often would include cheese, potentially grains, and canned goods, depending on the season. I wanted to point out that 14% of our recipients in 2020 were residents of the town of Comox. Definitely the largest, as you can imagine, demographic was the city of Courtenay, but after that, it was the town of Comox. So you can just see some of our statistics there. We did serve about 604 households. We have a wait list. We partnered with a lot of farms and a lot of fantastic organizations. The Comox Valley Food Policy Council, which Stephanie is a part of, was also part of helping with this COVID response. And so the Good Food Box is just one of the ways that we were able to respond in our community. And I'll pass it over to Kim.
So this slide speaks to the evidence of need. So really emphasizing that in the Comox Valley, the percentage of the population with low income is we're looking at 21% for children and youth, about 15% for adults, and 12% for seniors over 65. And that really connects strongly to food security because the greatest predictor of food insecurity is low income. So we have about 8.5% of households in BC are food insecure, and really linking that to how foundational food security is. So really being able to afford food is really a key step in healthy eating. And food secure populations have higher rates of chronic disease. So we're really seeing increased rates of diabetes and heart disease, and decreased mental health and well-being in food insecure households. And as you can imagine, COVID-19 has really increased needs for community supports. So this, Marita did talk a bit about the definition of community food security, and this really emphasizes that also food security is really about access to food, so being able to afford food, but it's also about the availability of food, that there has to be a healthy local food system. There has to be safe food that is culturally appropriate. And really this is showing too from specific to the Comox Valley that 20% of children in the Comox Valley experience poverty, and that 31% of Comox Valley food bank users are children.
So I wanted to just touch quickly on a report that I authored along with Andrea Capelli, who's the coordinator for the Coalition to End Homelessness. And in 2019, we got together groups of farmers, groups of people dealing with housing and food insecurity, and also talking to people who are providing services. And we wanted to have a look at what, basically put together a needs assessment to see what kinds of food programs we could offer. We could offer particularly for people that were dealing with a level of housing insecurity. So the reason that I bring this to your attention is because I want you to see that this Good Food Box, as you see, it's kind of in the middle of that Venn diagram. It really brings together many ideas. So supporting our local food producers, supporting people with access to healthy food, and supporting our partner agencies that are doing work in housing. And so we wrote this report actually for funding, with funding through the Vancouver Foundation, and we were able to leverage 3 years of funding to support a staff person to look at this larger local food aggregation and distribution with a focus on the vulnerable sector. And we were successful in that. So we have staff to support this work, and the Good Food Box is part of a larger vision around local food aggregation and distribution and part of this project timeline. So we're coming into year 2. And just over to Kim, back over to Kim.
So this slide shows the values and approach that is being used to provide the Good Food Boxes, and really shows that Lush Valley is really looking at a broader food systems approach. So supporting the local food economy, as well as really considering economic recovery and how there's really strong environmental benefits which link to climate change in increasing access to local food. So our local farmers are very important, obviously, in taking care of the land and decreasing the carbon footprint of our food. And also there's really strong connections with other community organizations, and this model is really a good example of collective impact and how it's really increasing access to foods that wouldn't normally be available to lower income populations, and also increasing capacity of other service providers to deliver services. And then big pieces too are that this is really looking at increasing health and its community building. The volunteers in this program are also really benefiting from that. And then also food literacy. So there's that piece of exposure to new foods, also increasing food skills. And so there's partnerships with schools and other seniors programs. And then there's the decreased social isolation piece, which also has been really exacerbated by the pandemic.
Thanks, Kim. So last couple of slides here. This slide just really talks about your return on investment. So your bang for your buck, I guess. We haven't come to Comox with a request for programming, I don't think, yet, at least since I've been executive director. But this is a program where we can, if you're able to support it, we're really able to match funds. We already have funding to support our staffing. This is really for purchase of local food to support farmers and support people that are food insecure. We're also, we've got these partnerships already in place with farmers and community organizations. So that makes it a pretty efficient system. And then we also have these gleaning programs. So we're able to glean fruit and farm veggies and just increase the value of what people are able to receive. We're also really interested in looking in 2021 at ways to add other revenue streams into the program. So for example, in the South Island, there's the South Island Food Hub. There's actually a presentation at 7 through the Mid-Island Farmers Institute. They're doing similar work, but they've developed a Farm Bucks program for schools and for organizations so that they're able to get 50% off their purchase of local food. So we're looking at other ways, because right up till now, the Good Food Box has been primarily just a free service, but other ways to increase the volume of food that's getting out to our community and the value. So thank you. And I will just stop sharing my screen here and see what happens.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. We're back.
Well, great. Thank you very much. It was a very good presentation, and open the floor to council. Councillor Swift, you go ahead if you have any questions.
Thanks, Marita. And thank you for all the good work that you do. Heartbreaking to think of all those kids going hungry. I'm wondering how do you determine who has access to your Good Food Box program?
Well, that's one of the pieces. So when we put the program out as a COVID response, we reached out to a number of community partners, but we had a sign up or a registration form on our website that actually people didn't have to prove their income. So that is part of our sort of philosophy around dignified access. So the idea being that if people are asking for help in our community, that has been stigmatized enough, so we don't add another sort of layer of asking those specific questions around income. So most of those folks, so there's a number of different avenues. A lot of those families came through lists that principals and schools had given us of vulnerable families. And then we connected to a number of different agencies who would actually reach out to their clients and say, sign up on Lush's website if you'd like to receive the service. The model's probably going to look a little different in 2021. We're actually much more interested in just developing deep partnerships with agencies and acting more as a brokerage, if that makes sense, so that our partner agencies hold the relationships with their clients, and they're able to do more of the communication and delivery and provide a bit more of that service, because we did sort of all of the delivery in 2020. So we are looking for a deeper partnership with, affordable housing, for example, so that their relationships are already there as well. So 2021 might look slightly different, where it's more of a depot model.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Any other questions? Councillor McGowan. You're on mute.
Thank you. So I just wanted to, first of all, when COVID first hit, the response of the Good Food Box was it was incredible. The Food Policy Council and Lush Valley got moving so fast because the need was so great, and it blew my mind how many people just got up and said, okay, I'll do this. And off they went, and people were fed, and it was amazing. So I have two questions. One, would funding from the municipalities support applications for grants from other sources? So just kind of build on that funding that way.
Yeah, definitely. So whenever we can show that we've got support, from one community or another, it definitely helps us to leverage other funds. And so, I've done this, Kim and I have done this presentation already to the city of Courtenay. The CVRD has a different way that they're providing this funding. So we've talked to the Community Foundation about that. And Cumberland has their own, we've partnered with them on their project, and they've gone to their council for funding for their box program. So sorry, that's not the direct question that you asked, but I wanted to let you know that we're kind of hitting up everybody. And that, yeah, definitely when we have support, it really leverages other funds for us.
Okay. Now, also, what does the wait list look like right now? Is it kind of being dwindled down? Is it growing?
Yeah, so we have, this is the information that I have. Yeah, the wait list, we had about 50 households on the wait list, but we stopped actively promoting through our website because we had to stop the program at the end of December. Because we didn't have funding. So the emergency funding, the other thing that's been really tricky for us is the emergency funding has been really time bound. And so a lot of it, had to be spent within a narrow window, which doesn't lead to a lot of sustainability of the program. We did receive a small amount of, not a small, but a chunk of funding through Wache Friendship Center. And so we are doing the program at about half the capacity we were in December. So you've got your wait list, but then you've got that other half, which is 300 households that were a part of the program that we had to stop.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for tying in sustainability and economic recovery and food security all in one. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. Any other questions? Marita, what we normally do with these types of things is that we refer it to our budget process, which we're going to be ramping up here. We've done a little bit, but we'll be ramping it up soon in March. So it will be reviewed at that time. But, my grandkids go to Aspen School, and I make a donation there to their breakfast. So if you reach out to me tomorrow or sometime this week through my town email, I'd like to make a couple $100 donation to you guys and just get the ball rolling there for you. You can do that through the town.
Thank you so much. I will be doing that.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Really
And yeah, thank you again, Marita and Kimberly.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on. The adoption of the regular council meeting minutes from February 3rd for approval.
Second.
And any questions on that? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the Strategic Planning Committee meeting minutes from February 10th for receipt.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, down to committee recommendations. We have the wood burning appliances that council will provide, or that a report be provided on options that the town can take to further encourage the discontinued use of indoor wood burning appliances.
Move that.
Second.
Okay, and any questions on that? All in favor? Carried, thanks. And the potential speed reductions in town, and that is provide a best ways to holistically, with an H, address speeding on town streets. It's not often, Shelley, that I can ding you with a typo, so.
Well, I will move that, typo and all.
Okay, and any, yeah, any
Second.
questions on that? Councillor Bissinger?
Yeah, just a question, like how soon are we getting the traffic study that Shelley was working on with some consultants, and how does it tie into this? Or if should it tie into this, I guess is a question instead of duplicating effort.
Shelley, do you want to make a comment?
I would consider those two separate items to move forward. The transportation study that we're doing now is pretty much, they're doing the last edits, so I'll bring that to Mayor and Council. We touched on traffic calming, but this is taking it to, I think, a different level. So they're two separate reports.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, carried, thanks. Next, just the letter of support for TELUS.
Move.
Second,
Second.
any questions, comments? All in favor? Okay, and the last one here, which we've already done that, but we'll just get your seal of approval. That's the request for the proclamation for the Chamber of Commerce.
Move.
Second.
And any questions on that? Yeah, so that did go out on Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. So thanks to them for that, and all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. So we'll move down to the consent agenda. We have 3 items in there. We have one letter from David Eby, the Attorney General, regarding homeless count in Comox Valley.
Well, I'll move receipt of that, and I wouldn't mind talking about number 2 when we get it.
Okay, so
I'd like to
I'll
I'd
second
like to
that.
pull out 1 as well.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll pull out number 1. So we have a mover, seconder, and so questions on that. Pat, you had?
Yeah, number 1, I just wanted to give props. You know, I know that homelessness is such a disturbing challenge to all of us in our communities, but you can see how the Homeless Coalition is really doing strong work as the numbers, even though they're going up less dramatically than other communities. So that's the only reason I wanted to talk about this report. I think it takes a long time to get these reports back from the ministry. And so, you know, it's really, really important for us to look at this information and to use it going forward.
Okay, and I think I did do a technical error. So I think we should just accept all 3. So Ken, you're moving all 3, and
I'll second all 3.
Okay, so we'll vote on that. So everybody vote on that in favor of all 3 of those. All right. Okay. So now, the discussion we had with number 1 that was out, and Councillor Bissinger, did you have any comments on that? And then McGowan? No. Okay, McGowan, go ahead.
Am I muted still? No. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to point out the fact that it is still growing. I mean, with however much the coalition is doing, which is a lot. They work so hard, but it's, even with all of those efforts, it's still rising. And it just, you know, Comox has an issue with it as well. So it's something that we really need to keep in the front of our minds as we move forward through budgeting and everything, just to keep that on top of our minds as we sit in our warm houses.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that? So all in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. So did anybody want anything else pulled up?
I just wanted to talk on number 2.
Oh.
I just want some clarification.
So you want to move number 2?
Yeah, move.
I'll second it.
Okay, and so Councillor Grant, you had a question?
Yeah, sure. I just had a question. I've walked through that trail many times, and it seems to me that the condominiums just allow people to walk through. So is the case that the condominium actually stopped the access? Is that what happened, or what was it that happened there?
Yeah, so I had some correspondence from this fellow, and we're going back and forth. I drove to the area, and it's that existing Strathcona neighborhood where the mobile homes are, and then there was those new condos, and they had put a fence up along there. So it's 2 private pieces of land that unfortunately I don't think the town has any authority over.
Okay, yeah, I would assume that it was the condominium strata that actually put the fence up.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I was
It
wondering.
looks
There's not much
relatively
we can really do about it.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor McKenna, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. And, you know, it was hard for me to tell. If you look at the July 2012 Google map photo, it shows a passageway, and then it looks like that fence has been boarded up. What I wanted to ask, because I don't know, and it's hard to tell, is was it in the original development agreement that was a greenway or a space or a path that had to be held forever? And so I was wanting to refer it back to staff to see if that was an actual determined pathway in the original development agreement.
Marvin can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we did take a look and there was no requirement for that to be maintained as a public access path. And he agrees.
Marvin gives a thumbs up, so that is correct.
So my follow-up then, is there anything we can do to support those residents in any way, or are they just out of luck?
CAO and I are looking at each other. Go ahead.
There's no powers that the town, no regulatory powers that the town had. The most you could do would be to have a personal conversation and try and convince the private landowners to open access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, you know, for those folks that live near the fence, it is troublesome that they have to walk all through that neighborhood just to get onto Guthrie there to a bus, or even further to get to the grocery store. But yeah, I think CAO is right there. Maybe somebody who lives along there will give a little bit of a right of way to the street.
Yeah, the only other option council could look at doing would be to go down through the expropriation path, but that's going to be an expensive, time-consuming, and legal process to try and get that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Pat.
Yeah, just a last comment then. I guess, you know, as we approve our own developments in the future, and, you know, we're even looking at a third final reading tonight, we should probably be putting a stronger lens on egress and access ways and you know, green nature pathways. Like, it's so hard to determine what something's going to look like until it's built. And so I think we have to make sure that we're really showing a clear path when we are deciding on these projects.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I mean, there is some, if you wanted to go, if there was one of those properties for sale, the CEO will probably cringe right now, but one of those properties came up for sale near the end that the town buys it, takes a piece off, puts a walkway. Nicole's head is shaking no, and then sell it again. I see that's the only way we could do that. But yeah, your point is very well taken, that we do definitely need to be looking at this stuff. So any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all Councillor Minions?
Councillor Bissinger's just rejoining the meeting. I'm not sure if she had wanted to speak on this. I think she may have.
Okay.
Can I just ask a really quick question? Do we know the reason for the change as far as the access, like the voluntary access been taken away? Is there any backstory, or if someone was to go there and just try to speak on very in-person terms, do we know the reason that the access has been taken away?
I don't know if there's any specific incident that led to it other than just the amount of people going through. There may have been something that precipitated it. I'm not sure, but generally, you know, put up, you know, fences cost money and time and stuff. So it would have been.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Bissinger, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, my internet is a bit wonky. But I guess my question was just like, can we advocate to have that access reinstated? I'm not sure if that question has already been posed or not, but is that something we can advocate for, or write a letter to the strata just explaining that some people use it, you know, in order to get to the, you know, the main bus routes or whatnot?
Well, you know, it is two private pieces of property. I guess, you know, we could reach out to the strata and make sure that they're aware of this, and then just see what happens after that.
Yeah, that would be up to council. I'd request a motion if council wants to do that, because this is going to be, you know, it's likely to be a contentious issue on both sides.
And
okay, Councillor Bissinger, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry again, but is there a chance that the town would be able to sort of purchase that land as a right of way or something, and just in order to maintain that access? Has that ever been done in the past?
That's we were talking about that when you fell off there, and we're just looking at some options, but we're not sure at this time. I think if someone wants to make a motion, I'll send a letter to the Strata, making sure that they're aware of this and seeing if there's a way that they can work with the neighbors in the neighborhood and then see what comes from that.
Sure, I'll make a motion for that, please.
I can second that.
Seconder, okay, and then any questions on that? Councillor Minions?
I think if we're going to send a letter like that, which I'm somewhat in opposition to, I think we just need to make sure we're very neutral on, we obviously, if they put a fence up, the Strata is probably aware of that, although not necessarily, but I don't think the town should really take a stance on what a Strata is doing. I think it's getting into their weeds a little bit. So, if we had multiple letters, not that one letter is enough, but I would say if we did send a letter, it would just be, just so you know, we've received a letter. If there's something that council can talk about, but I would say to be very neutral on our stance because I don't think we have enough information.
Okay, I think Councillor Grant.
Yeah, I've walked through there lots of times over the years, and to be honest with you, I always found it a little bit weird that you could walk through a Strata without unencumbered like that. I always thought maybe we just forgot to put the fence up or something, because it always seemed a little bit odd to me. But I think you're right, actually, Nicole, in that, we're starting to get into, they didn't just put a fence up there for fun. There's obviously been a reason, and unless we know what that is, to start taking a side, I think is probably not a good idea. And second to that, it's inconvenient if you live in one of those trailers right near the end to walk back, but it really isn't that far. I get that it was a lot more convenient to go the other way, but we're not talking miles and miles here. We're talking about 3 blocks, I think, or 4 blocks. So, this isn't the end of the world. And I know that we've really stepped up our game when it comes to walkways through developments and things like that. We do a lot better than we used to in the old days. And these ones come from the old days, as one is got mobile homes and trailers in it, which we haven't had any of those in 30 years, I don't think. So, we've changed it a lot for the future, but I would be a little bit, I don't think that I would be in favor of sending a letter to the Strata, at least until we know a little bit more about what the issue is.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments on that? So all in favor of a letter to the Strata, just bringing awareness of the CEO, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to request a little bit more clarification on the motion that we're passing here. Is council voting on a motion to send a letter requesting that the Strata re-examine, or is council passing a motion or voting on a motion just to bring to the Strata's attention that the town has received this correspondence?
I think the latter, but Councillor Bissinger.
Yeah, no, I think at least inform them and then, see sort of, maybe we can see sort of why they put it up, or, they can get in touch with the homeowners on Stadacona or whatnot. But I think definitely just give them the heads up that there are some concerns and it is, inconveniencing other residents in Comox. Yeah, I'd support the latter.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Minion makes a good point. We don't want to get in the middle of those. But okay, so then all in favor of a letter just bringing awareness to the Strata and not taking a side on either way. So all in favor? So
Just to be clear,
okay.
Just saying we received the letter.
Correct. We'll send the Strata that we've received correspondence from that neighborhood that they are that they're hoping for a walkway, something along those lines.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we want to hold that vote again? So all in favor of that letter? Okay, and none opposed. Okay, thank you. So that's carried. All right, and so we just had 1 and 2 that were pulled out of that then. All right, so we'll go down to unfinished business, strategic planning and action items for receipt from.
Move receipt.
Okay,
Second.
questions or comments? Councillor Minions.
Just a minor question. I believe it falls on the strategic priorities, but on Friday, the Comox Valley Record printed something about the off-leash dog park coming this summer, which I don't know if the timing is still that, but the wording of it was it will be an interim off-leash dog park until the Northeast Woods gets finalized. So whenever I seem to learn things about the dog park from the paper, but I was just curious where kind of those communications are going out to the public. They may just be getting those from the meeting minutes and they're being misconstrued, but anytime I read about the dog park in the paper, which some people might be getting their information from, like in print and online, it seems to be inaccurate. But it said until the Northeast Woods plans are finalized, this is a temporary dog park coming in the summer. So that was out on Friday, and it was just a interesting read. And I meant to send it in advance, but I just thought of it today.
Yeah, thanks. That will add, that statement in the paper will add more confusion to an already confusing situation. I can say that since my time here, rarely, if ever, have I been contacted for clarification on a story.
Councilor Grant.
I guess the other issue there is that it leaves you thinking that there may be some resolution coming to the Northeast Woods, that there's some issue, and there are many issues with that as we go forward, and to leave people with the impression that that's going to be straightened out and you're going to be able to do whatever you want, that may or may not be the case. And so I think this gets into a bigger thing. So I think maybe we should get our new communications person to put out a story that actually reflects what we're actually doing with the dog park. And, I don't even know where to go with the Northeast Woods thing yet, because that could be its own crap show as we go forward, right? So.
Yeah, I know. I was contacted by the radio station, I think it was yesterday, for our position on that. And I did say that we're working with the school division at Comox Elementary, and that we are going to be putting in a dog park there, and that the Northeast Woods remains a leashed area. The signs advise that you may encounter dogs that are off leash, just for awareness that people don't always follow the rules, but that area has always been a leashed area. You just may encounter dogs that are off leash. So Councillor Minions.
I think it comes back to the communications piece, because when I pulled back that article from only 14 months ago saying that was our interim off leash area, we have not retracted that statement. So I think that's the challenges.
I think I just did, so.
Well, but not everybody heard it's, I'm just saying the newspaper
I know.
article makes it sound like it is.
Yeah,
We did
okay.
say a year and a half
And
ago
we,
it was.
back when this was, we thought that was the way to go, and it has not gone away, and we are working hard as we all.
And I
know
didn't hear
around
the
this
radio
table.
statement. But
Yeah, no,
again,
it was
it's
just
that like that
yesterday,
in the
yeah.
newspaper. It's just,
Yeah.
it's causing, there's
No, it's
confusion out
definitely
there.
confused.
Utterly
So any other questions or comments on that? Okay, all in favor? All right, and we will have the communications people do something on that. Do you want a motion on that? No, we're good. Yeah.
I think needs to be clarification, because when we did pull up, the signs were going to come down, and then I
know.
found the newspaper article, and then I don't think that we've made a statement that we all are on the same page on. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, so did we vote on that? Yeah, we did. Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to rezoning and OCP amendment application, OCP RZ 19-1, development variance permit application DVP 19-9. That's at 2309 McDonald Road. So we have 5 recommendations, and we'll start.
One for adoption.
Councillor McGowan, did you?
Yep, I need to go. I also had some things that I was trying to ask for the strategic planning and action and items report, but I guess I'll follow up with that later. But yeah, do I just waving like mad over here. I do need to recuse myself. How do we do that on Zoom?
Right, yes, so you'll have to, I guess, go into a different room. I don't know, block yourself up.
Bring your phone, Steph. We can text you on I can text you.
Yeah,
All right,
you
I'll just leave.
sorry,
and
you
then-
can log off and stay there, and I can, myself or Councillor Bissinger can text you to get back in, and I can take questions on the strategic plan anytime as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll write you in the morning.
sorry, we didn't see you at all waving there.
Yeah, sorry, when you do leave the meeting, you should state why you're leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, I am leaving the meeting because I have to recuse myself. I will return when you let me know.
And the reason being that you're recusing yourself?
Because Harold Long is my landlord.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll let you depart.
Okay, bye now.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move one for adoption.
Okay,
Second?
and any questions, comments on that? For approval? All in favor?
I'll move two for
That's
adoption.
carried. And do we have a seconder for number 2?
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Number 3.
Move 3.
Second?
Okay, questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. CAO, could you move the bottom box over Clive's name? Because I can't see Alex. There we go. Okay.
Move 4.
Okay, and 4 and
Second.
seconder. So any questions or comments on that? All in favor? Okay,
And
number
move
5.
5.
Second.
And questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, those are carried. Thank you very much. And we'll text Councillor McGowan to bring her back. We'll just wait a moment.
Okay.
She's back?
She's coming.
Okay.
Is she on there?
Stephanie, are you on now?
Yeah.
Okay, there she goes. 2 thumbs up. All right. So we're on to bylaw adoptions. And that's the implementation of the contaminated sites regime, the Comox Planning and Procedure Amendment Bylaw 1966 for adoption.
Move.
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments on that? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. And number 2, that the Comox Building Amendment Bylaw 1967 be adopted.
Move.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thanks. Under new business, we have the from the Rec Center, the Council Policy Amendment CCL 050 Workplace Wellness. That council policy be amended to remove the corporate wellness section and rename the policy as the Employee Wellness Policy. And further, that council policy CCL 050 as included in the February 17th, 2021 regular council meeting agenda be adopted.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that? Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, so I think I understand what's being proposed. Was there any look at having a different version of a corporate membership that maybe was a lot more money from a revenue generation standpoint, or is that something staff looked at and it wasn't feasible?
Do we have Ted on, or are you going to respond?
I'll respond, yeah.
You okay? CEO will respond.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something that we did take a look at for the group memberships, but I think what it came down to, part of it was just that being equitable to the community. The large employers who are able to do that are largely providing those type of benefits through individual contributions to their employees. So this would just be a way to basically subsidize a specific segment of the community who may not need it as much as others do. And so a lot of the funds that may have been used under the corporate wellness policy will now be used under the TRIP program, or under the, or not TRIP, but under the assistance to low-income individuals.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minions, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think I remember last year when Ted was talking about it too, he said that it was extremely hard to track as employees were moving on and there was a lot of people potentially taking advantage. I'm just kind of curious, were there any like major companies that were using the town of Comox, just so we're aware of out of that 12,000, is there one or two big, I don't want to say corporations because it's Comox, but
It's not that I know offhand, and probably not something we would maybe disclose in an open meeting either.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Now that's carried. Thank you. And notices of motion, Councillor Bissinger from February 3rd, Buena Vista, that staff provide options and engage the local residents on measures to address their traffic concerns related to Buena Vista Avenue.
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, for discussion.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor Bissinger, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I guess we also just approved like a traffic calming report from the engineering or public works department, sorry. So maybe I would ask that this would just be incorporated in that report with a special attention given to Buena Vista, just because it has been seeing quite a bit of communications from residents, as well as a lot of changes like between Buena Vista Church and Anderton with the new cannabis shops, the tap house, the parking issues. So if we can incorporate it into that report that's coming, but with a special attention or specific attention to the street would be our request.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, Councillor Swift, sorry.
I'm just seeking clarification because in the motion as it said, it's not asking for a staff report per se. So is that what you were hoping to get? Or did you just want the staff to engage directly with residents?
I don't know. In my mind, it was kind of both. Like if they liaise with residents and provide that in a staff report, or if they come up with certain strategies that are then presented to the residents. Like I'm not sure, which comes before the cart or the horse or whatnot. And maybe Shelley can speak to that, but I would definitely like it in a report that Buena Vista has looked at in terms of what traffic calming measures could be implemented there, whether it's sidewalks, speed bumps, road improvements, whatever. So I'm not sure, Shelley, what your thoughts are, or what's more effective or more, I don't know, what makes more sense for you guys.
We can do it either way. I think we can easily incorporate into the more of the holistic approach. It might just take longer to come up with something, but we can definitely look at as a whole. And like you said, focus in on the Buena Vista with some traffic calming options that we can present to the residents. I think it might give us the opportunity to take a closer lens on the land use and what's changed in that area, so we can have a better feel of that development, that impact, like you said, the church house, cannabis site, everything that's happening in the downtown. So it might give us maybe more of a higher level overview of what actually is happening in the area, as opposed to coming in straight with the traffic calming. So it's up to council which direction they want to go.
Yeah, I would suggest that, because I think too, if the residents want speed bumps and maybe that doesn't really make sense for like from an engineering point of view or from an implementation point of view, I think it'd be nice to have the engineering or public works department come up with some options looking at, the potential development of the site by Ivy Place and Comox Ave, like that whole area. So just have a look at it holistically with like a special lens on Buena Vista. So I'd be happy with, if I need to change the motion or tweak it that way, I'm happy to do that.
I think before we have more discussion, we should get a clear look at what the motion is that for staff. Are you comfortable with what Councillor Bissinger is saying, or do you want her to repeat with the information she's had so far to put that into a motion?
No, I'm comfortable. The only change maybe I would look for is an amending motion to say, and that this information be contained within the overall traffic calming report.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that
Okay.
anyway. So that I was just trying to figure out.
Is that what your question was going to be?
That's what I was
Okay.
going to ask.
Yeah.
So I would make that amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, so any more discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And opposed? Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. Right, so, and now the main motion as amended Do we need a seconder on that one, or that's already been moved and second? Okay, so for the main motion, all in favor? All right, and that's carried. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Councillor Bissinger, for bringing that up. And I think we're down at the end. We'll go reports from members of council. So I'll go on the top left of my screen, and that's Pat. So Pat, Councillor McKenna, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks very much. Pretty quiet actually the last couple of weeks. I was able to participate in an interview for the Comox Valley Family Services Association. So obviously wasn't speaking for the town of Comox, but it was an interesting session. They're doing some strategic planning, and so I was invited into that conversation. And then the other one of the boards I'm involved with is Vancouver Island Music Fest board, and the only reason I would mention this is that we had to make the difficult decision of canceling our festival this year. And so, you know, for the rest of us here on the town of Comox Council, we're going to have to talk about nautical days coming up here quickly and make a decision on what we're going to do. So I just wanted to kind of, I'll talk to CAO Wall, and we'll see if we can get that on an upcoming agenda. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, the CAO and I have kind of had loose conversations about that over coffee, about where we're going with that. So that'll be a good discussion. We'll go with Councillor Swift.
Thank you. I attended the Sewage Commission, and really nothing much to report there, except Doug Hillian is the chair of the Sewage Commission. I'm the vice chair. Nobody really wanted the job, I'm afraid. And the Recreation Commission, where we were talking about the budgets for the sports, track and field, the exhibition grounds, and the recreational complex. And we did have some discussion around, because people are upset about only having one pool open at this moment. But while the aquatic center is going to remain closed until September, and while it is closed, they're doing these upgrades. It's just too expensive. It costs about 2.5 times to run the aquatic center with the COVID guidelines in place. So that, combined with the reduction in revenues, the decision has been made to leave it closed until then. But hopefully going forward, the upgrades will be done, and there will be fewer disruptions once it gets up and running again. And then the CVRD board meeting, and we were talking about budgets. Comox is partaking in 22 services, but we go through each of the budget items line by line. So it's a long meeting and nothing really to report other than that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bissinger and then McGowan.
Sure, thank you. I attended a strategic planning session about the hospital board last week with Councillor Minions and Councillor, oh boy, what's his name? One of the councillors in Cumberland. So just going over like the goals for the hospital board, and I know there is a huge thing about mental health and addiction, as well as long-term care beds. So that came up as strategic planning, whether or not the hospital board should get involved with more of like the operational side of things versus just the capital infrastructure. So more discussions as we have an actual other, I guess, 2.0 strategic planning session with the board. And also participating in the Yana Walk on Friday. So thank you guys for organizing that walk, and look forward to socializing with you.
Or something like that. Okay, thanks. And Councillor McGowan.
All right. I met with Jordan about some tree bylaws and just continuing that conversation. The Food Policy Council Municipal Food Supply Subcommittee had a meeting or two. We are now moving to monthly, which will be helpful. The Community Substance Use Strategy meeting is getting into like a working group and getting in the middle of, they've hired a consultant, and things are really moving forward to find out kind of where we can go with information that we'll be gathering over the next few months. And I attended the FCM's Part 2, Module 2 of the Municipal Climate Resilience course. And yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Minions.
Yeah, just really quickly, as they've been mentioned, went to the sewage commission meeting, and congrats to Maureen for being the vice chair. Went to the hospital board strategic planning session, which was just over the phone with, it was Councillor Sullivan from Cumberland and Alex and I for Comox. And it was pretty much a replay of the strategic planning that took about 4 or 5 hours one day. So we just recapped that and made sure everybody was on the same page from our area, the three of us. Went to a sustainability Zoom call with a couple of local Comox Valley residents who just want to make sure that mostly food policy and air quality, climate change adaptation is still on our minds throughout as the pandemic goes on. And a couple of us answered this interview for Mac Lang, which is just kind of keeping that moving along, hopefully. And then the walk is for coldest night of the year this Saturday. Not Yana, that's okay. And our team is just under $7,000, and we have a $7,500 goal for 4 or 5 days from now. And thanks again to Chief Schreiner for being the big fundraising guy on that. He's #1 in the Comox Valley at the moment for fundraising. So thank you for that. And I picked up the toques and have those ready. So that's kind of this week is getting ready for that. And I'm really happy to see that they've hit their goal already and the communities going forward, even in our current world. So that's a really nice story.
Great, thank you. Councillor Grant.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing as Director of Council.
Can't really hear you.
That's right. I did the exact same thing as Councillor Swift did. So not much more to report than that, other than at the regional board, we are going through all their budgets, but there's not likely to be a lot of increases because we went through every department at the regional district and they really cut the fat and trimmed it down. Just in light of COVID and to get rid of the excess. So whether we, you may feel a little pain in the future because of that. And also you're going to see user fees probably going up, especially when the water one hits fairly quickly here. So, it's good news on their budget for now, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Thank you. For myself, I zoomed into a CVRD meeting with a group talking about some economic development stuff. Had a radio station interview with the dog park issue, and hopefully when that comes out, it'll be a little clearer, as clear as that dog park issue can get. I attended the Comox BIA meeting. Had a good conversation about things going on in town and about the food vendor program that we have. Yesterday, I made a presentation to the, is it the Courtney Rotary Club, Ken? Is that the lunch club? Did a Zoom meeting with them. It was really good. We talked about things happening in Comox. I've been getting many emails and dealing with some issues for folks regarding the Providence Dementia Village and the realignment, I guess, of the building that they put in there. The new location is right up near the corner of Rodello and Comox Ave, kind of where the helipad is, which is causing a lot of angst to some people, and so been stick handling those. I believe Providence is coming to us on March the 3rd, so we'll have an opportunity to talk to them about that. Other than that, that's what I've been doing. So thank you all. I see nothing further. A motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thanks folks, and we'll see you Friday for the coldest night of the year walk.